Hey everyone, and welcome back to AI ToolBox. We're diving deep today on something that's got the whole tech world buzzing.
Oh, yeah.
KREA AI's 3D object conversion tool.
Yeah, this is a fascinating one. From my perspective, what's so interesting is it really could change who gets to be a creator.
Okay.
KREA AI, a company that's known for pushing the boundaries of visual content creation with AI,
hmm
has released a tool that can turn any 2D image, think a doodle on your phone,
Right.
a photo you snapped, anything like that, into a full 3D model.
Okay, hold on. I need to wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
So I can take a picture of, say, my dog, upload it,
Yep.
and this thing spits out a 3D model of him.
That's the gist. And you can even go in and customize textures and
Oh,
materials.
wow.
So your 3D dog could be furry, plastic toy, like whatever you can imagine.
That's wild, but I'm guessing there's got to be some level of technical know-how to use
Yeah.
this thing, right? Like, is it only for folks who are already 3D modeling pros?
That's actually one of the most exciting parts. KREA AI designed this tool to be incredibly user-friendly.
Okay.
They wanted to make 3D creation accessible to anyone, even if you've never touched modeling software before.
So you're saying they're seriously trying to democratize 3D modeling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but help me understand the real-world implications here.
Sure.
Who benefits from this and how?
Well, imagine the possibilities in gaming and AR/VR experiences. Developers could populate their virtual worlds with 3D objects created directly from real-world images, or users could even create avatars based on photos of themselves.
I can see that being huge. Game design, especially indie game dev, often gets bogged down by the time and cost of creating 3D assets.
Right.
If this tool can speed that process up, that's a game changer.
Exactly. And think about marketing and advertising instead of static product images. Imagine interactive 3D models that customers can rotate and zoom in on to see every detail.
It's like the next evolution of those spin the product features you see on some websites now,
Yeah.
except way cooler.
Yeah, it definitely makes online shopping a more immersive experience.
But let's be real, no tech is perfect.
Mm.
What are the limitations here? Can it really compete with the detail and control you get from professional 3D modeling software like Blender or Maya?
You bring up a good point. No tool is a magic bullet,
Right.
and this one is no different. While it's fantastic for generating quick 3D models, you might not get the super high fidelity, intricately detailed models needed for professional use without some additional refinement.
Okay.
Think of it like the difference between a snapshot from your phone and a professional photo shoot. Both capture the subject, but the level of detail and control is different.
So you're saying it's awesome for prototyping, visualizing ideas,
Yeah.
and getting things off the ground.
Exactly.
But for truly pro-level 3D work, you might still need those heavy-duty programs.
Precisely, KREA AI's tool lowers the barrier to entry, but doesn't completely replace the skill and artistry of experienced 3D modelers. At least, not yet.
Okay, that makes sense. But even with those limitations, the potential impact here feels massive. What are people saying online? I'm guessing the hype train has left the station on this one.
The online reaction has been enthusiastic, to say the least.
I got it.
It's been trending on X under hashtag AAI3D, and tech blogs like TechCrunch and The Verge have published some pretty glowing reviews. Influencers in the 3D design and art communities are particularly excited about the potential to open up 3D modeling to a wider audience.
That's really cool.
Yes.
It sounds like it's generating genuine excitement, not just marketing hype. But I'm also curious, are there any dissenting voices? Any experts raising concerns or caution against getting too carried away?
There are definitely some more measured takes out there. Some folks are pointing out that the tool is still in its early stages, and while it's impressive, it still needs some work to handle highly complex images. For example, if your input image has a ton of fine details or overlapping elements, the 3D model might need some manual cleanup.
So it's not quite point-and-click, instant, perfect 3D model just yet.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess the quality of the output still depends in part on the quality of the input. Garbage in garbage, outright.
That's a good way to put it. It's important to remember that this is a tool, and like any tool, it needs to be used skillfully to get the best results.
That's a good reminder for our listeners who are probably itching to try this thing out themselves.
Mm.
But before we dive into the nitty-gritty of how to use it, I want to take a moment to talk about the broader significance of this tool. What does it tell us about the direction AI is heading? I mean, this feels like more than just a cool new toy.
You're hitting on a really important point. What's so exciting about KREA AI's tool is that it points to a future where increasingly complex and specialized tasks are becoming accessible to everyone. AI is breaking down barriers and empowering individuals to do things that once required expensive software specialized knowledge or years of training.
It's almost like the early days of the internet when suddenly everyone could be a publisher.
Yeah.
Now it seems like everyone could be a 3D artist.
That's a fantastic analogy. And just like the internet revolutionized communication and information sharing,
Right.
this tool has the potential to revolutionize how we create and interact with 3D content.
Thinking about it, the implications for various industries are mind-boggling. We've already talked about gaming and AR/VR, but what about fields like architecture or product design?
Absolutely. Architects could use this tool to quickly create 3D models of their designs, allowing them to visualize and refine their ideas in a more immersive way. Product designers could use it to prototype new products and test different designs before going into full-scale production.
And let's not forget about the impact on education. Imagine students being able to create 3D models of historical artifacts or complex scientific structures. It would make learning so much more engaging and interactive.
You're right. This tool could really transform the way we teach and learn. It could make complex concepts more accessible and help students develop a deeper understanding of the world around them.
All this talk about the future is getting me really pumped, but let's bring it back down to earth for a moment.
Okay.
For our listeners who are eager to start playing around with this tool, what are some practical tips you'd recommend?
Well, first and foremost, don't be afraid to experiment. The beauty of this tool is its simplicity. Just upload an image and see what happens. You might be surprised by the results.
And remember, the quality of the input image will directly impact the quality of the 3D model.
Right.
So if you want a really sharp and detailed model, start with a high-resolution image.
That's a great point. And if you're working with a complex image, you might want to break it down into smaller parts and convert them individually. This can help to improve the overall quality of the final model.
That's a clever tip. Any other words of wisdom for our budding 3D artists?
Don't forget to play around with the different textures and materials available in the tool. Experiment with different colors, finishes, and lighting effects to see how they can transform your 3D models.
It sounds like there's a lot of room for creativity and exploration with this tool.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to share your creations with the world. KREAAI AI has a fantastic online community where you can connect with other users, get feedback on your work, and even collaborate on projects.
That's a great reminder that learning and creating are often more fun when done together.
Yeah.
And speaking of community, let's not forget about the vibrant online discussion surrounding this tool. We've already talked about the buzz on X and the coverage in major tech blogs.
Yes. It's clear that this tool has captured the imagination of people all over the world. It sparked a conversation about the future of 3D modeling and the role that AI will play in shaping that future.
And it's not just tech enthusiasts who are paying attention. Artists, designers, educators, and business leaders are all recognizing the potential of this tool to transform their respective fields.
It's truly fascinating to witness how this tool is bridging the gap between different disciplines and inspiring people from all walks of life to explore the possibilities of 3D creation.
It seems like we're on the verge of a creative revolution, and KREA AI's 3D object conversion tool is right at the forefront of it.
I couldn't agree more. It's an exciting time to be alive, and I can't wait to see what amazing things people create with this tool in the years to come.
Before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to take a moment to remind our listeners to follow us at AI for the People for more daily AI content. We also love to hear your thoughts on KREA AI's 3D object conversion tool. Does it live up to the hype? Drop your comments below or tag us on social media. Let's keep this conversation going.
We love hearing from our listeners, so don't be shy. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and let's explore the future of AI together.
Now let's wrap things up with some final thoughts on this game-changing tool.
Okay. Welcome back. I'm still buzzing about the possibilities of this tool.
Me too. And you know me, I always like to think ahead.
Yeah.
So let's talk bigger picture for a minute.
Okay.
This whole idea of AI making complex tasks more accessible, where else can we see this happening?
Oh, that's a fun one. Imagine AI tools that help us write novels, compose music, even choreograph dances. Things that traditionally required years of training and practice could become more open to anyone with a creative spark.
Whoa, that's almost a little scary to think about. Like, will we even need human artists anymore if AI can do it all?
I don't think it's about replacing human creativity,
Okay.
but rather augmenting it. Think of it like having a superpowered assistant. The AI could handle the technical heavy lifting, freeing up human artists to focus on the emotional core, the storytelling, the unique elements that make art truly human.
That's a reassuring take. I like the idea of AI as a collaborator, not a competitor.
Hmm.
But okay, Enough future gazing for now. Let's
Uh,
get back to the tool at hand.
Okay.
For our listeners who are ready to jump in and start creating, what are some practical tips they should keep in mind?
First things first, don't be intimidated. You don't need to be a tech whiz or a design guru to use this tool.
Right.
Remember, it was designed with accessibility in mind. Just start playing around, experiment, and see what you can create. The learning curve is surprisingly gentle.
That's good to hear.
Mm.
But I'm guessing there were some nuances to using it effectively.
Sure.
Any insider tips you can share?
Absolutely. One thing to remember is that the quality of your input image directly affects the quality of your 3D model. So if you want a crisp, detailed 3D object, start with a high-resolution image that has good lighting and clear outlines.
That makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out, right? But what if you're working with an image that's really complex with lots of overlapping elements or fine details? Any strategies for handling that?
Great question. In those cases, it can be helpful to break the image down into smaller, more manageable parts. Convert each part separately, then use the tool's editing features to assemble them into a final composite 3D model. It might take a bit more time, but it can dramatically improve the overall quality.
Okay, that's a pro tip right there. I'm taking notes. What else? Any advice on getting the most out of the tool's creative features?
Don't be shy about exploring the different textures and materials available. You can make your 3D objects look like wood, metal, fabric, you name it. Experiment with different colors, finishes, and lighting effects to see how they can transform your creations.
Ooh, playing with textures and lighting sounds like fun. I can see myself getting lost in that for hours.
It's definitely addictive. And remember, KREA AI has a thriving online community where you can connect with other users, share your work, get feedback, and even collaborate on projects. Don't be afraid to reach out and learn from others.
It's always more fun to create and learn together. Speaking of learning, one thing I haven't wrapped my head around yet is how this tool actually works under the hood.
Okay.
Is it magic? Tiny robots assembling 3D objects in a secret lab somewhere. What's the secret sauce here?
It might feel like magic, but it's actually cutting-edge AI doing some pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
The tool uses something called machine learning algorithms to analyze your 2D image and essentially infer the missing 3D information. It looks for patterns, edges, shadows, all sorts of visual cues that help it figure out the depth and volume of the object you're trying to create.
Wow, so it's basically teaching itself how to see in 3D. That's mind-blowing.
It is, and what's even more impressive is that it can do all this in a matter of seconds or minutes, depending on the complexity of the image. Traditional 3D modeling can take hours or even days to achieve the same level of detail.
That speed is a huge advantage. It makes the whole process so much more iterative and experimental. You can try out different ideas quickly and easily without getting bogged down in technical details. I bet that's a game changer for designers and artists.
Absolutely. It lowers the barrier to entry for newcomers and speeds up the workflow for experienced professionals. It's a win-win for everyone.
I love it when technology empowers people like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the technical wizardry behind the tool, the potential impact across various industries, and even some practical tips for getting started. But I want to bring it back to something you said earlier about the broader significance of this technology. You mentioned the idea of AI democratizing complex tasks. What does that really mean, and why should our listeners care?
That's a great question. When we talk about AI democratizing something, we mean making it accessible to a wider range of people. Traditionally, 3D modeling has been a specialized skill requiring expensive software and years of training. But with tools like KREA AIs, those barriers are starting to crumble. Anyone with a computer and an internet connection can now create their own 3D models, regardless of their technical background or artistic ability.
So it's about leveling the playing field, giving everyone a chance to participate in this creative space. I love that idea. But what are the real-world implications of that shift? How could it change things for the better?
Imagine a world where students in underserved communities can create 3D models of historical artifacts for their history projects, where small businesses can showcase their products with interactive 3D visuals, where aspiring game developers can bring their ideas to life without breaking the bank. That's the power of democratizing technology. It unlocks human potential and opens up new avenues for creativity and innovation.
That's a vision I can get behind. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the opportunities it creates and the people it empowers. That's what makes this whole conversation so exciting.
I couldn't agree more. And while it's still early days for this technology, I'm incredibly optimistic about the possibilities. It's a glimpse into a future where creativity is no longer limited by technical barriers. A future where everyone has the tools to shape their own digital worlds and bring their ideas to life.
That's an inspiring thought to end on. But before we get too carried away, I want to remind everyone, to follow us at AI for the People for more deep dives into the world of AI. We're your one-stop shop for all things AI, from the latest breakthroughs to the practical ways AI is changing our lives.
Absolutely. And
Speaking of exploring, we want to hear from you. Have you tried KREA AI's 3D object conversion tool? What are your thoughts? Drop a comment below, tag us on social media. Let's keep this conversation going.
we love hearing from our listeners, so don't be shy. Share your creations, your questions, your wildest AI dreams.
Okay, enough with the plugs. Let's wrap this up with some final thoughts.
Okay.
I think we can both agree that KREA AI's tool is pretty darn impressive. But as with any new technology, there's always a flip side. What are some of the potential downsides or risks we should be thinking about?
That's a crucial point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new tech, but it's important to consider the ethical implications as well. One concern with AI-powered creation tools is the potential for misuse. For example, someone could use this tool to create deceptive or misleading 3D content like deepfakes, but in 3D.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought about that. So, like, imagine someone creating a fake 3D model of a politician saying or doing something they never actually did. That's a scary thought.
Exactly. And as these tools become more sophisticated, it'll become increasingly difficult to distinguish real from fake.
Yeah.
So we need to be thinking about ways to verify the authenticity of 3D content, just like we're starting to do with images and videos.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels like we're constantly playing catch up with the ethical implications of AI.
Yeah,
It's a moving target.
it definitely is. But I think having these conversations is a step in the right direction. We need to be aware of the potential risks so we can develop safeguards and use these tools responsibly.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key message you want our listeners to take away about KREA AI's 3D object conversion tool?
I think the biggest takeaway is that this tool and others like it represent a fundamental shift in how we create and interact with technology. It's a powerful example of how AI can democratize creative processes, making them more accessible and empowering individuals to bring their ideas to life in new and exciting ways. But with that power comes responsibility. We need to use these tools thoughtfully and ethically, always keeping in mind the potential impact they can have on our world.
Beautifully put. And on that note, we'd like to thank our listeners for joining us on this journey into the world of 3D object conversion and AI-powered creation.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those AI dreams coming.
And remember, the future of AI is what we make it. So let's make it a good one.